When your intention is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you will get the reward. And this is what this hadith is telling us. Now, this hadith, a lot of ulama have taken it from either of the one angles, either from the spirituality, from talking about your ikhlas, again, everything that you do it solely for the purpose, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing else. Your intention you should be free of riyā, that you shouldn't do shirk. If you're doing it for someone else, it's like shirk. It's like you are trying to please that person rather than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you are giving that person, na'udhu billah, preference over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're showing the community how pious you are. You are giving community preference over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is where you're committing shirk, and this is what you have to stop from. And that's from spiritual, from a more sort of ulama of tazkiyah, people who talk about the tazkiyah to nafs, that you have to cleanse yourself spiritually. So some ulama have taken this hadith from that angle, which is right, and some ulama have taken it from a fiqh angle. And when you talk about from a fiqh perspective how this hadith fits in, whether an intention for an ibadah is important, in which ibadah they are important and which ibadah they're not important, like we have the famous debate about intention of wudu, whether when you do wudu, if you have intention, whether you have to have intention or you don't have to have intention before you do wudu. Intention is part of wudu or not part of wudu. Well, Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he says that the kamal in a'mal is with your niyyah. So when it comes to wudu, it's not something that you have to have, but to have the complete reward of, to have the complete for your wudu to be complete, you have to have niyyah. But Imam Shafi'i and other scholars rahimahumullah, they say the sihha, for you to get any reward from the wudu, you have to have intention. Intention is part of wudu. This is what these ulama say. So we will not really go into that fiqhi debate, but why, I'll just give you a reasoning why Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, Nu'man bin Thabit rahimahullah, why he talked about, why he was of the opinion that wudu, that intention is not part of wudu. When it comes to ibadat, ulama say ibadat are those which you do not understand them. You don't understand why are you praying the way you pray. Why do you pray 5 times? Why do you pray 3 rakat in Maghrib? Why do you pray 2 rakat in Fajr? Why do you do these things? You don't know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it to us, and we believe it. Amanna wa saddaqna, we do it. So when it comes to ibadat, such kind of ibadat, you have to have intention. However, if there are some things which are obvious, like wudu, for example. When you're not wudu, when you do wudu, you're cleansing yourself before coming in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before praying, before doing something, you're making yourself clean. It's something that is rational, you understand it. Your intellect does not go against it. So that's why it's not that kind of ibadah whereby you don't understand, so you don't have to have intention for that. However, when you understand why you're doing something, which is, when something is rational, then you don't have to have niyyah. Also, what niyyah, there's a bigger debate than this. There are a lot of adillah from both sides, but we'll not go into that as for now. But intention itself, it also helps in tamizul ibadat. Obviously, it's obvious. It helps in differentiating ibadat. So you make the intention, when you pray salah, you make the intention of salah, and when you fast, you make the intention of fasting. When you give zakah, you make the intention. So it sort of differentiates between ibadat and between the different types of the same ibadah. For example, what is wajib, what is fard, what is sunnah. When you're praying the 3 rak'ah of Maghrib, you're making an intention of fard, of fard prayer. and when you read the two sunnah, you make sunnah prayer, the intention of praying sunnah. So it differentiates between ibadat, different ibadat, and different categories of the same ibadat as well. Also, with your niyyah, one thing I would really like to mention, which is misunderstood in our community, that niyyah is an act of the heart. It's something. The intention is something you do from within you, in your heart, in your mind. That's where you do. You don't have to utter an intention. You don't have to say it. If someone does khair, but you don't have to say it. If someone doesn't make an intention and you tell him, no, why didn't you utter it? Why didn't you say it? So that is not important. You don't have to say it. Niyyah is just, so that you, it's an act of heart. And some people who have, who utter intention, or people who have prescribed it, is so that you remember it. But when it comes to what we find in the hadith and what we find in the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we don't actually find uttering the niyyah, because niyyah is an action of the heart, and that is something I wanted to clarify. وَإِنَّمَا, then the hadith goes on to say, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِإِمْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى. And for the person is what he intends. Now the ulama, they say that, why is why is the same thing mentioned again? Why is the same thing mentioned again? Is it a new sentence? Is it talking about something else? Some people have said that the first innamal a'malu binniyat is about about the fiqh aspect of it, and the second is about the spiritual aspect of it. However, this is just for emphasis. This is just to emphasize the fact that your actions are dependent upon your intention. Just to remind us again that, and this is done in Arabic time and time again, re-emphasis. It's an important part of Arabic to re-emphasize something. So this is to re-emphasize the fact that you will only get, if your actions are dependent on your intention, you'll only get what you intend for. So if you intend for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll get that. If you intend for dunya, you'll get that, but you won't get the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the hadith goes on to say, فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Again, a very important point here. There's something known as shart and jawab shart in Arabic, that there's a condition, and then there's the answer to that condition. There's a shart and jawab shart. Now, usually they're obviously different. So, for example, if I say, if you play with me today, you play football with me today, then I will treat you, or then I'll take you out to eat with me, for example. So they're different. But if you say the same thing again, if you play football with me, then you'll play football with me. So it's the same. So why has it been mentioned? And we need to realize that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the afsahul Arab, was the most eloquent Arab, was the most eloquent person. So when he said something, there's definitely a grammatical point to it. And what we find in this is, again, it's that emphasis. And it's also not only emphasis, it's also showing the majesty or the honor, how honorable of a thing that is. If your hijrah is for Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, your hijrah is for Allah and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To tell us that how amazing it is, the hijrah, if you're doing something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then you are doing something for Allah and Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that it's so majestic, it's so amazing that you're doing something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to show that honor, the honor of Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the shart and jawab shart are the same, to show us the honor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So how you read it is, فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى دُنْيَا يُصِيبُهَا. If someone intends to do hijrah just for the sake of dunya, then his hijrah is for the sake of dunya, he'll get the reward in dunya. And if his hijrah is for the sake of a woman he wants to marry, his hijrah is for the sake of that woman that he intends to marry. He'll get her, but he won't get reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, referring to the incident of Muhajir Qais. Now, one thing before I finish, I would like to mention is that hijrah is of two types. One hijrah is from Darul Khawf to Darul Aman. Like the hijrah of those Sahaba from Makkah al-Mukarramah to Habasha. That was from Darul Khawf to Darul Aman. And the other type of hijrah is from Darul Kufr to Darul Iman. So where you are being persecuted because of your beliefs, then you go to a place where you're not only you're not persecuted, but it is a place where your religion is being practiced. So the hijrah of the Sahaba and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Makkah al-Mukarramah to Madinah al-Munawwara. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the true understanding of this deen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.